that music signifies the return of the Torn Quadcast here on WRMN AM 1410, as well as on the WRMN Radio YouTube page. Good evening, everyone. I'm Elliot Serrano, joined yet again by my co-host, Mark Allen Fishman. How you doing, Mark?
I am waiting for you to give me the signal.
All right, so we have to make sure we're agreed on what the signal is, because sometimes that can get a little confusing. So if it's good, that's good. This is the signal.
Okay. What does this mean?
Oh, that's something completely different. Although in some places they go like this, which makes it doesn't look as intimidating as it could have been.
Now, I do realize that this is a radio show, and I just gave a visual cue, so I apologize.
Well, this is, again, for folks who are watching on the YouTube. If you're watching on the YouTube, you got
bonus
all
content.
the little jokes we just did. If you're listening on the air, yes, we apologize, but that encourages you to, like, later on, like, let's say if you're driving right now and you're listening to this show in your car, when you get home, hey, pull us up on the WRMN Radio YouTube page, where we also have previous episodes of the Torn Quadcast there for you to watch and enjoy. So yes, the Torn Quadcast, for those who have not heard us before, is the show where we discuss sports entertainment, namely pro wrestling, as well as sports, like other types of sports, baseball, basketball, football. We talked Bears last week. We will at some point be talking about White Sox baseball, which will be airing here on WRMN. In fact, by the time this episode airs, we will have played our first spring training game on, as we called it, The Stick. That's the over-the-air signal for WRMN radio. And we'd also be talking about entertainment. Mark and I are both comic book professionals. We've both created comics, written comics. We like talking about that, as well as movies based on comics, science fiction, video games. Before we came on the air, we were actually having a nice long conversation about classic video games. So anything can go on this show. We will do like a little bit of rundown before we go on the air, but then sometimes, you know what? I think we've only stuck to the rundown maybe once.
I mean, we get through most of the items, I think.
Yeah.
Like we
kind of skedaddle and, oh, wait a minute, we meant to talk about that.
I just basically wait for you to stop talking, and then I start ranting, and then when I see your eyes daze, I go back.
That's a good tactic. Yeah.
Yeah, I figure that's how it works.
I've been doing a lot of radio this week. I did 2 shows on WCPT on Monday and Tuesday, and then I will also be recording a new edition of my James Bond podcast, Shaken Not Heard, and that's going to be we're going to talk about the transfer of the rights to 007 from Eon, the Eon studio, Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson, over to Amazon. So we'll talk about that on there. We're not going to talk about that here unless somehow breaking news occurs, like they cast the new James Bond, you know.
And it's finally Batista.
Yes. Well, he was Mr. Hinks in the...
Yeah. So there's a little connection there.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, so I've been doing a lot of jibber jabbering, a lot of talking, so my eyes glazing over could happen at some point.
Don't worry. It's also, by the way, the 3-year anniversary of your appearance on the Unshaven Rantcast, my on and off podcast with my my comic book studio. I just saw that in my Facebook memories when we were promoting that show.
I think I've been on the Unshaven Rantcast twice, right? It's only been
yes,
twice.
You were on with us, I think, when it was still the 3 of us around one mic, and then joined us in the post-pandemic, hey, we figured out how to do video call
Yeah, that's like when everyone was doing Zoom and Skype, and now like this one here is on StreamYard, which is
Exactly.
kind of like my favorite.
It
um,
works well.
yeah, but that's always been a lot of fun, and I am more than happy to come back on the Unshaven Rantcast in the
We ever
future.
have it again, yes. I keep trying to convince Matt and Kyle, and we all agree, like, when we have enough information or topics to rant about, we'll do it. The problem is now we gang them up. So when we take these long Comic Con trips, we will go at it for like 8, 9 hours in the car. And I keep joking, like, if we could figure out how to wear lapel mics and get the road off of the background noise, like we could just cut that up and have a whole season, you know?
I would say, well, my buddy James Van Osdell does Car Con Carne. He records it in his car. He's got the little setup with the microphones and everything. The acoustics in a car are actually pretty good.
Yeah,
And
they
I
would
and,
be.
and I remember when and that came up in my Facebook memories. I was on his very first Car Con Carne. I was on the very first episode. I was not a really compelling guest. This was when James was like trying to figure out a way to come up with a new form of podcast. It's if you've never listened to Car Con Carne, you can find it on all the podcast services. It was voted like one of the best podcasts in Chicago by the Chicago Reader. And the conceit is essentially, well, in the beginning it was he drives to like a restaurant and gets like their barbecue or whatever their food is, and then he has the guests like eat it in the car as they talk about whatever topics come up.
Does this predate comedians in cars getting coffee?
I want to say yeah. I
Suck it, Seinfeld.
Yeah, but it's not. You're not in the car when you drink that coffee,
Right.
and it certainly predates carpool karaoke.
Yeah, I never really got into that one, but I will say, admittedly, uh, the Jerry Seinfeld one to me is like catnip. Like I love everything about that show, so
I
long
will.
as his guest is somebody I like.
I will say, my the funniest guest he's had on out of all the people, Matthew Broderick.
He was
The
good.
episode, the
Yes.
episode with him, because the thing was, first Matthew Broderick isn't really known so much as a comedian. I mean, he's a comedic actor,
Yeah.
and even as a comedic actor, a lot of times he's playing the straight guy.
Mm-hmm.
But in that episode, he and Jerry had such incredible chemistry together. And when they were just riffing on each other, and it was so natural. It was
Yeah.
so natural. I was dying laughing as they're going. This is hilarious. I think the only other one is I think the Julia Louis Dreyfus one was also because you could tell that they had a good chemistry.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, did not have that kind of chemistry with James on his first Car Con Carne because I think I was just sitting in the back seat of his car and they were talking and I'm just eating barbecue. So not terribly
Still.
compelling.
Either way, stay tuned. We'll do the same thing. We can do pro wrestling in Mark's minivan while we get White Castle. It'll be great.
Oh, see right there. There you go. White Castle in a minivan, something like that.
And we'll come up with a title later. Don't worry.
Yeah. Anyway, so hey, what about pro wrestling? Since that's been, I mean, by the time, okay, first we're gonna do a fairly deep dive into what happened at Elimination Chamber, and yes, there will be spoilers. I'm serious. If you haven't seen it yet, I mean, you had to have gotten spoiled on the internet. I'm telling you,
It's everywhere.
yeah, they were everywhere. Right? Did you watch the event or did you get spoiled online?
I did not have Peacock, but I followed a watch along, so
Okay.
I got all of the results as they were happening, so to speak. I had kids running in and out, but basically that Sunday morning, it was the first thing I did is powered through the what happened at, so I understood what was going on, and then half caught SNL before rage quitting, so I was all
Oh,
set for WWE.
yeah. Shane Gillis is not that funny, but whatever.
That's for another show.
Yeah. Anywho, so we are going to get into what happened, and again, the huge twist at the end. I do want to bring up a couple things. First, across the board, I mean, one, again, WWE did a really good job with what used to be a somewhat forgettable PLE. Yes, the Elimination Chamber match itself would be kind of cool because you're waiting to see what kind of crazy stuff people do in there. But all the other stuff surrounding it would tend to be somewhat forgettable.
Complete filler. But this time around, I mean, they said, I think Triple H came out ahead of this and really hinted to the media that this was going to be a do not miss this PLE. Like, we are sowing a lot of seeds. This is like the prelude to my magnum opus for the year. So let's pay attention, kiddos. And four matches. That's perfect.
He called out the dirt sheets and in his post event press conference and explained how they kept the spoilers from getting out, which I thought was brilliant. He goes, very few people didn't know. In fact, a lot of the folks in the match didn't even know until it was time for stuff to start happening. And what was it? He said, I told everyone right before the last match, he goes, I told everyone I've got it from here. Like I'm taking over the board, so to speak. And you could tell he was calling everything as it happened, as it went. Yeah. And I was, because he even said, remember I talked about this last week. Someone goes out there and says, oh, this is how Bayley's going to win. And that which guarantees it's not going to happen. And he said, yeah, a lot of times the dirt sheets, they go this and that. And you go, nah, they're always wrong. But every once in a while they get it. And they're like, they hate, he goes, he hates, again, spoilers. He hates the stuff being given away.
Of course. Now, there's a difference between what we'd say spoilers and everybody with an opinion in pro wrestling fantasy books. We all do that. Yeah. But you do that in the same way that, like, this is the fun of pro wrestling, right? Is that, like, look, if I'm a Chicago Bears fan, I am fantasy booking the Bears to win every single game all the time. If I'm a fan of the WWE or AEW or any pro wrestling, I'm not always just picking my guy and hoping he wins forever. I'm looking at each match and saying, what gives me the coolest outcome to keep this story moving? Right. Or we want finality, like, last year, Cody Rhodes finishing the story. Like, you have to get to these moments. And some of those, everyone and their mother predicted Cody would win, but you have to be able to go on that ride and have earned it. And I think what they especially did this time around for Elimination Chamber with all of their matches is really start setting up WrestleMania so that we can get some stories to finish and some new chapters to begin all across the board. And it's exciting for them. They said the ball is in their court right now. AEW's taking it on the chin left and right. No one's really mentioning them anymore in the same breath. So now WWE's pretty much got the zeitgeist just in the palm of their hand.
Well, AEW did announce their PLEs are going to be on Amazon. So,
I mean, look, they can be competitive, but they're, even with their star power and money, they're not booking the same buildings. And I'm the fan of the AEW, and even I'm saying I'm happy with them being a solid B promotion and let WWE hold the main audience's attention, because I think that you'll become a connoisseur of that kind of stuff, and eventually when it wears thin on you, there's something else to fall back on and enjoy, and same as you might with TNA or any of their local promotions. So
that is a very mature attitude to have about this, so unlike wrestling fandom.
Yeah, I'm trying to be above board because y'all don't see my comment threads on TikTok. So
well, I see him on Facebook.
Yeah, every now and again. I forget that, like, if you comment on, like, a short or a reel in Facebook, it can still show up.
It'll show up. I've seen him. I go, wow, geez, Mark.
I'm a little mean on the indies. I'm sorry, but I can only take so many thigh slaps before I lose it.
I get it. All right, so as far as Elimination Chamber goes, the first thing I will comment on is, in the brilliance of the storytelling, is that, again, got us off running. The return of Jade Cargill in a completely unexpected. Well, maybe some folks saw it. I didn't see this coming. the her showing up and then just when you think she's going to go after Liv Morgan, she goes after Naomi, and
Hmm.
the scene with Bianca Belair in the in the little cubicle, whatever you call that thing, the
The
capsule,
cage.
the
It's a
cage.
cage. Yeah.
That and she can't do anything. She's trapped in there, and she's watching Jade Cargill just wail on Naomi, and I was like, whoa, okay, we're hitting the ground running here. And
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting storytelling device because again, you have the in and out of the 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 cage,
Yeah.
how folks somehow are able to get out because someone snuck in and that will factor in the second match.
Yeah.
But I thought that was clever, and especially when Triple H even said they weren't sure how they were going to get this part of the story going again with Jade because they weren't sure when she was going to return,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
just happened to happen at that point. And I thought, what a really clever way to get the whole event kicked off.
If the ball's on the tee, you got to swing. And I think everybody did a great job in the match from what I saw and what I read and heard. People, all the ladies got their moments to shine. But like we'd said in our preview show, what is the best story to tell? Now there's an interesting twist to jump a little bit ahead on this. So let's follow the story, right? So Bianca Belair wins.
Right.
And we know now there's some seeds with what happened with Jade. Obviously, Jade and Naomi may go off and do a program. Will it be Mania worthy? Maybe they'll be a good match 2 on night 1 or something like that. But they've got a story to tell because Bianca is now free to pursue that championship. And forgive me, I don't know if she's held the world championship belt. I know she was NXT champion.
She has
For,
been world champion, yes.
okay, so she's going to go back for it again, and well deserved. And
I can't remember if it was world champion or universal champion.
whichever one it was, but either way, she now gets to pursue that. Now everyone, me included, thought, hey, fantasy book her versus Rhea Ripley, you've got like quite a banger of a match. But
Yes.
swerve again. Sorry, spoiler alert. Io Sky took the belt from Rhea on would it be Monday?
The Raw following Elimination Chamber, yes.
Yeah, which now they have continued the story a little bit. They showcased Rhea was definitely upset, and it's not like an injury or something that's going to take her away. But they are saying like, well, there goes her WrestleMania dreams. She's not going to be on the show. Obviously, rumors are like, well, this could be a triple threat. There could be other. It keeps the story going, and I think it is really interesting, and it's great for Io because this kind of acknowledges for her like she's now received that shine because she's been on the cusp a lot.
I mean, she's been champion before too.
Right, but you don't hear her name when people are talking about the upper echelon of the women's
Right.
division.
Right.
She's sort of like, I mean, no offense to him, but it's sort of like when Kofi Kingston held the belt. It's like, I'm happy for the guy. She earned it, she deserved it, but am I going to ever list her in the pantheon of the best? Probably not. This might change that
Yeah.
in time.
Well, the Kofi Kingston thing kind of rubs me raw because what they did to him afterwards.
Oh, they did him dirty, but
Yeah.
there's so many that have held that belt and did not get to hold it down. So,
Yeah.
either
But,
way,
but to your point, yes, they did. It was very clever in how they set things up again in an unexpected manner. I certainly was not expecting Rhea Ripley to lose on Monday Night Raw. I mean, I was like kind of half paying attention to the match as it was on. I was like doing some stuff and I just have it on in the background, and then it's like I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Wait, isn't she gonna kick out? What?
you know what? It's good though because they got it's retraining your audience to recognize
Yeah.
television matches should count too.
Yeah.
Titles can and should change on TV because it creates a great story and it is solid. And I'm so excited that especially with Triple H, the women are now wrestlers. They are not bikini clad weird characters or caricatures. They are as the same as men. They have drive, they have ambition. Some of them have more characterization, others don't. It's like an actual league or a roster in there, and now we've got like two really solid belt matches to have at WrestleMania there, where really it is going to be about whatever match they put together. And in both cases, we've got some good stuff. So good
I
on them.
agree. And the women at the PLEs are putting on matches that are on the level of the men's matches.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I'd say there have been times too where I have watched a women's match and I appreciate it more than a men's match because they are taking advantage and showing off that there is a different style to be had.
right.
It's something, people like to make fun the WNBA when it started. But eventually you notice like no, there's a change in play and a change in style, and it isn't about what some of the things happen. Like it doesn't have to be this male dominated sport. And especially here, like you've got opportunity and style that doesn't have to follow one to one to whatever the men have done for years before.
Right now, the quality of play in the WNBA, if you ask me, is better than in the NBA now. And the NBA is all about guys approaching 6 feet shooting 3-pointers. That's all they want to do is shoot 3-pointers, 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 3-pointers. It's boring AF. You'll have guys like Dan Bernstein on the score saying, "Well, you need to shoot 3-pointers. That's the way of the NBA. 3 is worth more than 2." And then it's like, okay, fine. Well, then, screw passing, screw a post game. Big man. Again, these are all huge guys. It's not even like, you have remember when the scrappy point guard who was like maybe barely 6 feet, 6'2". He's
John Stockton.
Yeah, the John Stocktons, trying to make their way. And they're out there on the perimeter so they don't get,
BJ
fouled.
Armstrong.
Yeah.
In case you can't tell, I stopped watching. I stopped watching basketball after the Bulls won their sixth championship.
Same.
I almost said sixth belt.
So yeah. But yeah, it's all 3-pointers. It's boring. Whereas the women pass, they have the 3-point shot too, and yes, some of them even dunk.
Yes.
So then after the women's match, and I absolutely love how Liv Morgan. See, I thought Liv Morgan kind of got done wrong her first time around as women's champion. And even though she's not the champion now, I mean, she was really established as a threat and as a credible champion her next round through. Now, and has a great storyline going.
Yeah, they had great stars throughout. All of it was really good, and I'd say minus a little bit of dirty tweeting later by Becky Lynch. There was some interesting stuff there with Roxanne Perez.
Roxanne?
Yeah. So everyone got a chance to shine good on them.
All right. That music means that we're going to be going into the break. When we come back, Mark and I will continue talking about the Elimination Chamber as well as to get into some news with the AEW, All Elite Wrestling promotion. So if you're on listening over the air, we'll be back after this break. Hey, if you're watching us on YouTube, watch us make faces at each other. And we're back, folks. This is the Torn Quadcast on WRMN AM 1410 and the WRMN Radio YouTube page. This is the radio show where we talk about sports entertainment, sports and entertainment. I'm your host, Elliot Serrano, joined by Mark Allen Fishman. If you missed the first half hour here on the stick, we've been talking about.
Shame on you.
Shame, how dare you?
Yeah.
You're a disappointment to me and to your family. We've been talking about the WWE PLE Premium Live event that took place last weekend, the Elimination Chamber, where one of the most shocking developments in the history of professional wrestling took place. And I'm not talking about Jade Cargill jumping Naomi at the beginning of the pay-per-view. I'm talking about what happened at the end. Now, two things I wanted to bring up. One, looking back at last week's episode, you had made this reference of how the Cody Rhodes announcement was going to be like filler in the middle.
Yeah.
And, which it normally is, but they moved it to the end. And again, that was another thing that Triple H did not tell anyone about. A lot of folks were wondering what's going on here. We're talking people even in production, apparently, were wondering what was going on. To the fact that they moved it to the end and had that whole thing going. And to me, I think it all went. The final match, of course, with the men having CM Punk and John Cena being the last two there at the end of the match, and then what proceeded to unfold after that. What did you get to? I know you were catching up. Did you get to see the whole sequence as it occurred, like on YouTube or anything?
I didn't see the sequence. I had it like narrated to me as to who did what to when to where, to kind of because for me it was like, okay, well, tell me the story. Let's figure out, who's advancing. I said, if you remember from our last episode, my prediction had been either Punk or Cena winning, given that the story up until that point is Cena's in his last year. This is his last go around. And I figured, well, this is the feel good story. This is the Sting retirement angle where we're going to give this man his flowers, let him check all the boxes that he didn't check before and call it a year. And what would that mean for a Punk who now would miss out on his main event? And, there's favors and other things going on. And there was no telling what was going to happen there. But I had ultimately thought Cena would win, if only because where else would you go with it? I teased like maybe him versus Logan Paul just because it would be a good spectacle. Thank God it's not. So
it's funny too, because I almost said this last week, that is like, Cena doesn't have to win and go to WrestleMania because he still has a whole year. He could like retire as champion, at the end of the year if he wants.
Yeah.
But again, I'm gonna give Triple H and John Cena credit for coming up with this particular angle. Although it was Triple H, The Rock, and also in his post event when he appeared at the press conference after the event, which by the way got some wrestling critics like in a tizzy because he was breaking kayfabe. He was just talking about the story and the characters and how to do it. And he said, like they were giving all the credit to John Cena. John Cena is the one who came up with the idea for the heel turn, so to speak, right? To be a bad guy.
And again, like this is the kind of thing where we talked about it a little bit last week. And like, guys, grow up, everybody. The WWE is taking a shot by saying, look, from the time the event starts to the time it ends, that block is the fiction. Okay, that is the reading of the comic book, if you will. That is the watching of the movie. And afterwards, these faux press conferences, if we're not hanging a hat on making them more of the storyline, then it's okay to do exactly what they're doing, which is like, hey, yeah, you want the extra, you want the behind the scenes. I don't know. Like to these same people, I would ask them, did it ruin it for them to find out that Harrison Ford didn't get gamma irradiated? That was actually a CGI.
What? Wait, hold on. What?
I'm sorry, I'll take you back. So Harrison Ford, the Red Hulk, right?
Yeah.
It turns out that he's actually not a gamma irradiated monster. He He just acted like it.
Ah,
So sorry. So sorry.
fake news. Fake
Yeah.
news.
Right. And Robert Downey Jr. can fly.
He's Iron Man.
He is.
And
with foreign shields.
and he screwed Oppenheimer. You know.
Yes. Yes. Well, you know what? It is what it is. But it's it. The sequence in which it's in, if you're referring to, just bring me back here. If I have this right, something happens between Punk and Rollins. He gets curb stomped.
Right. So it's right before. Yes. Cena and Punk were going at it. They do this great thing where they're the final two,
Yeah.
and they face off, and it's like the whole hey, all right, and they like hug each other, like hey, we're the last ones, like good luck to you, hey, whatever happens, and like a sportsmanship thing, and then they start wailing on each other,
Hockey fight, right?
Yeah, like hockey fight, and the crowd is going nuts. I'm telling you, the crowd is going. They're coming unglued because at this point, I mean, there are a lot of people who were rooting for CM Punk. I mean, there was like the whole they want CM Punk to go, but also John Cena's in there, so they're going back and forth. Cena, CM Punk, Cena. But although they at no point did they ever start chanting Cena sucks,
right?
Which was always the default. Even when people liked John Cena for a while, they still chanted Cena sucks, like it was ironic, right?
Yeah.
But no, they were just chanting Cena and then CM Punk, Cena, and they're gone. But and Rollins has been. I think Punk eliminates Rollins, but no one notices that he hasn't. The door is still open and he hasn't left the cage yet.
Right.
And at one point, like Punk is like on the ropes or whatever, and Rollins just comes in and curb stomps him onto the floor.
Right. The metal grating.
Floor. Right.
Yeah.
And then then exits the cage, and as the cage doors are closing, he's screaming at Punk, "Die! Die!" Because Cena suddenly notices that Punk is out of it and grabs him, drags him to the middle of the ring, puts him in the
STFU.
Not the other one,
no?
Not the STFU. I forgot what the other one was. But he puts him in it, and then Punk kind of passes out. It's like he doesn't.
Right.
He's just out.
They gave him the Warrior's death.
Exactly. And it's like the whole Cena took advantage of a fallen guy, but it's like, oh no, it's like he's like, oh shit, I can do this. Yeah. And it was brilliantly done. I mean, it was brilliantly done because it's even Rollins. They have the camera guy. You knew they planned this out because the camera guy was in the perfect spot to catch that. And then they've got a view of Rollins from inside the cage, yelling at Punk, and from the outside looking in, and everyone's seeing everything. And I'm there going, oh, this is effing brilliant.
Right. And let's say you set up that story, right? So now Punk, who up to this match has basically waved off Rollins. The story went that Rollins and he started to chip at each other. They had a match on TV, and Punk won clean. No run-ins, no slips, no falls, no nothing, just clean beat him. And it was sort of like Rollins is downtrodden, but he's still going to fight from underneath. And now we get that, I don't care. It's Captain America grabbing Red Skull, and we're just going to jump. We're going to dive this plane together. I don't care. And it makes perfect sense because it gives Punk and Rollins something great to do that isn't worried about the title. And for however long we savored it, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, Cody and John Cena, it'll be respectful, it'll be sportsmanlike, it'll be great, yeah. I wonder why Rock has to come out here and where's he gonna
Yep.
What does he have to do with all of this now? Ooh, maybe he's gonna insert himself as the mysterious third or whatever.
Everyone kept saying that they were going, oh, Cody's going to turn heel. He's going to go Homelander. That's what they keep saying. We want to see, because that's what's happening now, is people are talking about, well, Cody's got to turn heel now. He has to turn heel. We want to see him as a heel, which is what they used to say about Cena back in the day.
Sure.
That we're tired of Cena. He needs to turn heel, or we won't cheer for him anymore. Shut up.
I mean, lest we forget, Cena started out as the heel. He got himself over as the heel.
The doctor of thugonomics.
Yeah, all of that. Well, the fact that he even uses the attitude adjustment and the STFU, those were heel names
Yep.
for moves that he had
Yep.
done, lest they forget. So yeah, it was an interesting turn, and I'm not going to sit here and lie. I wanted Cody to turn heel too, but that's just because I'm like he's running out of bad guys to defeat, and now I'll let you take over the story. People are worried about where it's going.
Yeah. So it Cody, and this was a bit too. It kind of totally got overshadowed on the Peacock channel when it looks like Cody is going to tell The Rock, well, my soul. It sounds like he was trying to make it seem like he was going to say, my soul belongs to you, or I want it all, blah, blah, blah. He goes, my soul isn't mine anymore because I've given it to these people and this and that. Everyone starts cheering. Yeah, 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 yeah. And the whole time, John Cena's in the back going, oh, yeah, yeah, you show him, you tell him that.
Oh
And
yeah,
then,
he's just the hype
yeah,
man.
yeah, like the hype man. Like, I'm John Cena. Yeah, you go, Cody, you tell him. And Cody tells The Rock, he goes, hey, Rock, go bleep yourself. I can't say it because it's over the stick, so I can't say it on the air. But he goes,
It's a loud word that starts with F.
yes, and again, it went over the air on the Peacock channel, and
It sure
like,
did.
it's like they dropped an F bomb on a pay per view, which you never. This is like the first time I think I've ever heard one intentional, like scripted.
It's
that
like
way.
how in Beetlejuice they let him get away with one.
Well, last year it was the whole thing with The Rock, where The Rock was dropping F bombs. Remember, as the final boss, he would do that, and they would catch them half the time. Like they would, like mute them, so he would say something, and they would mute his F bombs. This
Right.
one did not get muted; it did
No.
not get bleeped, and the crowd went nuts.
Oh, absolutely.
And then John Cena goes up to him and he goes, "Yeah, you tell him," and he gives him a hug. All right, yeah. And what we don't see is and again, great camera placement, incredible.
Perfectly placed. Almost as if they planned it, guys.
Yep. Camera catches John Cena going from smiling to this grim look on his face, and you cut to The Rock, and he goes this throat slashing motion, which looked really awkward the way he did it. At least from
Well,
the
some
camera angle.
people are pointing out, if you're not following this, he did the same maneuver earlier in the year, and when he did it, he went 3.
Oh,
And this time he went
did
2.
Oh,
So
okay.
people are thinking maybe he's counting down to something. Like there's more to this on top of the already brilliant layering. So Cena goes full heel, takes
Kicks
Cody Rhodes to Dick Kick City.
right in the nards, like ouch.
Yep.
And then they
And
wail on him, and
Travis Scott, too.
who were wondering what the hell is this guy doing in there? You thought he was just there to just be the the musician or the artist in the ring. Also is helping hold Cody down while The Rock beats him. Cody blades himself for a moment, so we got to get the blood so that
Yes.
The Rock can put the blood on yet another belt like he did
Sure.
last year. And then he whips Cody, they have to tear his shirt off, and they have to whip him. And Travis Scott apparently really tagged Cody. I mean, like
Yeah.
for real, like stiff.
Yep.
And I'm
But
like,
let's be real. Behind the scenes, I'm sure Cody told him to go ahead and do it.
yeah, but I'd be like, you're a guest, okay? You don't like stiff the franchise, okay? Because you never.
I mean,
know.
you got to hope that they practiced it somewhere in the hallway, and then he just got the nerves up to him. But
Yeah,
or maybe he needed to show off. But
yeah.
yeah,
And then and then it's the heel turn, and so we essentially have the Attitude Era united now. The Rock and John Cena together against the American Nightmare, and
Yes.
and it's gonna be a hell of a WrestleMania. I'm telling you. Plus, you still have all these weeks leading up to it that you're gonna be able to do all this bit. Oh, but then of course John Cena's in the middle of filming a movie. So the other, for people who really care, he flew in the day of the match, like showed up before everything started, went in, had the match, afterwards came out to do his press conference, which was essentially him picking up the mic and dropping it, and then leaving, and
Yep.
and which was one I thought also brilliant. It's just,
Yes.
what are you going to say at that point? But he also had to catch a flight to go
Yeah.
back back to Europe, I guess, so to keep filming the movie he was working on. And you're like, all right, here we go.
You know what? We're off to the races, and it's a great start, and it was a great end to a very good PLE.
You know what? I think I'm going to get. I'm going to. Oh, I don't know if I should say this out loud, but we'll see about getting you on my Peacock account.
I said, we'll figure it out. We'll both, the show giveth, the show does not taketh away.
Does not much.
Yes,
So,
and I would be
the right
hard
people are paying
pressed.
attention. Yeah.
I'd say I would be hard pressed to not want to watch WrestleMania at this point. Like I will give that a full go,
Oh,
and I can continue my speed watching of Raw and SmackDown. Just every time I see somebody talking, I just stop long enough to hear them say their catchphrase, and then keep going.
mind you, the Raw following when Punk came out to do his bit,
His is worthwhile. That's
pretty much torched The Rock.
yeah.
I'm like, do they just go out and say it? Like, or do they clear this stuff with each other? Or
I think Punk he has license where others probably don't,
yeah,
because that is quintessentially him. Like that is the gimmick.
because
So
Linda McMahon is the freaking the Secretary of Education now on the Trump administration. What does CM Punk do? Come out in a Chicago Teachers Union T-shirt.
yeah,
Kind of like his own middle finger.
exactly. Now, granted, I don't think Chase U is coming out and cutting a hardcore,
Oh no.
realistic promo. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
let Punk be Punk.
But you're right. But that's also what people expect of him. That's why that's why he's there to
Exactly. Give the man a blazer.
But to me, the whole thing with the thing with him and Rollins, I'm actually kind of glad that's going to keep going. I mean, they've been doing a nice job of doing that because, as you mentioned before, it's now about feuds where they just want to beat the crap out of each other. It's not necessarily for a belt. It's
Right.
personal. This is old school wrestling because back in the day, it wasn't about a belt. It was about, oh, this guy slapped your mama, and now you got to get this guy back for what he did to your mama or your sister. Or he said this or that or the other. The bit with you mentioned it. The bit with Rhea Ripley. She drops the belt to Io Sky. Now she has that moment. Did you see that promo that she did afterwards with that was brilliant. I was like,
Yeah.
she, as you said, she was being like, I can't blame anybody but myself. It's like, I wasn't, I wasn't focused. I was this, I was that. Because I feel isolated right now. I'm not with the Judgment Day anymore. Damian Priest is out over on SmackDown now. I'm alone, and like, oh, that is a great bit to give now. Do something with her character. So maybe, who knows? Maybe this means Rhea Ripley's going to put a faction together. There's so many things that they can do now
They've got
those
options.
little bits. Yeah.
Yeah, I said we're WWE is cooking right now. They've got all the gas, they've got the fire, they've got the attention of the people. So they know that they're about to hit the peak WrestleMania. They got to sell the most tickets, they got to sell the most PLEs, they got to get the most subscriptions, and from there the year resets, if you will, and they'll kind of pick up the ball and like see where we can go from there. But like this is, we are in Act 3. This is End Game. We are just about ready for On Your Left, for the equivalency of the WWE. So let them, the kids say, let them cook.
Right. Well, Elimination Chamber was Infinity War, and
Yep.
WrestleMania will be Endgame. All right.
Yes, you could almost see Cody Rhodes cash and prizes floating away in the dust. Just
Wow. All right, let's switch gears while we still have some time to talk about AEW. I'm going to tell you something. I watched an interview with MJF on one of the Sports Illustrated podcast guys.
yeah.
I forgot the guy's name. It was really an incredibly annoying interview. New York versus Los Angeles and how this, that. Oh, God, shut up. Just get to the point about things.
You'd hope.
And I mean
You'd
this
hope.
for the Sports Illustrated guy.
Right.
MJF was doing everything he could, to kind of make it entertainment. Although, and I don't mean to trigger you with this, but it really felt like MJF was doing a Donald Trump. Like, oh yeah, my contract, it's the biggest contract ever, and I get the highest ratings when I'm on AEW, and when I did this,
it's not triggering. I pat that man on the back for doing that crap, because that if ever there was a person.
No, that I'm
he's living the gimmick.
Guy to Donald Trump is the thing.
You know what? He would do it himself. Like it said that I watched a clip of him recently at a fan signing, right? Yeah. And if you bring this man an action figure to sign, he signs the action figure and flings it across the room. Like the man doesn't drop gimmick, and I got to appreciate it. So,
but that was it. I have yet to see MJF actually wrestle. Is the thing. I've yet to
he is as good as he's on the mic. He's actually better in the ring, which is something.
At some point, I will see it, because every time I watch Dynamite, he's not on. So.
The man doesn't get paid to do the TV matches anymore.
So I was like, "What's the you have? It's the one time I can watch your product, because I don't. I mean, now I'm spoiled. I don't pay for pay-per-view. I just don't,
right. And I said, I'm like, and speaking of, listen, AEW is gearing up. Their pay-per-view is this Saturday or Sunday, March 9th, live on pay-per-view. It is AEW Revolution. So they are gearing up right now. This is, it's not their Elimination Chamber. They have a big event in a couple of months, but they do have another big pay-per-view after this that's selling. They've got a lot of matches on their card. I'm looking at the card right now. We're talking 8 matches on the card, plus the 9 matches on the card, and a 10th in the 0 hour. That's a lot of wrestling.
All right. Well, you're gonna watch it, obviously.
It's a pay-per-view. We'll see how Jewish or not Jewish I am.
You can say that.
I can say that. And even if I catch it just for MJF and Cope versus John Moxley, those will be good matches.
All right. We'll find out about that. Not next week. It'll be the following week, right? All right, folks. Thanks so much for joining us. This has been the Torn Quadcast. I'm Elliot Serrano. That's Mark Allen Fishman. We'll be back next week when we talk about what else is going on in sports, entertainment, sports, and entertainment. Thank you, folks, for listening to us at WRMN 1410.